Sup y'all, it's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and today I figured I'd give you guys my summary of the recent PvP Q&A that happened today between Lore, who's one of the community managers, and Brian Holinka, who's one of the senior game developers who focuses mostly on, obviously, PvP. Now, this is going to be a summary and not going over every single little point, so if you guys do want to see the actual full, the complete Q&A, I'm going to have a link in the description to the VOD, so you guys can click on that, or you can go over to twitch.tv/warcraft and click on it from there. So anyway, guys, before I actually get into the, the meat of this video, I do want to say a couple of things. For one, I do really appreciate Blizzard doing these Q&A sessions. It's not just because it gives me content to make videos about, but it's also because as a player, it really helps me know kind of like where they're coming from, where their design philosophies are coming from, what they are, and kind of what to expect. And so I do really appreciate them doing this stuff. Even if it's things that I don't really necessarily want to hear, kind of like basically the PvP one. A lot of the things that they said here are not really things that I wanted to hear, but they're also not things that I really expected not to hear. So another thing is that there were a lot of things that they had to go over, right? And it was a little bit shorter than usual, I guess, since it was a Legion developer PvP Q&A. It also got pruned, but I think they did go over a lot of things that I thought were important. So I'm going to kind of try and focus on the things that I think are important, the things that I think that you guys need to know about, and the things that I think bear discussion. So the first thing is that this is kind of obvious, right? But a lot of people were wondering about it. Class balancing is not finished in the beta right now. So like Prot Warriors going around one-shotting people with these bullshit Swifty macros, that's not supposed to happen. Big surprise. So it could go into the game like that or something else, but that's not the plan, okay? Or at least we're not there yet. And also the tuning that's going to be happening at the beginning of the expansion is going to be based around having incomplete artifact weapons. And so each time that you get enough artifact power, you can buy a trait for your artifact weapon. So they're balancing around not having all of the traits. Later on in the expansion, they might balance around having all of the traits. Now, I do want to express a bit of concern here. I think that the artifact weapons, because of how long it takes to fully upgrade an artifact weapon, I think that they will become actually more of a barrier to entry than the gear used to be with PvP. And in Legion, as you guys may or may not know, gear is being more or less normalized in Legion. And so, like, let's say you go into, I don't know, like a Warsong Gulch in Legion, and you have all mastery gear, right? It's not going to matter. All of your stats are normalized, and the only thing that can increase your stats is your item level. And so they use the example of at the beginning of the expansion, they're going to be balancing kind of around, or tuning everybody to 850, around there. And so if you have an 800 item level in Legion, which is fairly low, if you have an 800 item level, you would be, let's say, 850 in the PvP item level. But if you have a 900 item level, you would only be 860. So that's only, and each item level is I don't really know how it's supposed to work right now. Basically, each item level in Legion is is a 0.1% difference, and so 100 item levels is only 10% difference. So they put a lot of effort into kind of making PvP more accessible, and I do think that these artifact weapons and the traits, if they're not correctly scaled down, or in my opinion, I think they should probably just be removed from rated PvP or baked in as like a guaranteed thing. I don't really like having to I don't really like the gray area they're trying to achieve. I think that they could be even more, as I said, more of a barrier to entry than gear or anything else has been in basically the entire game ever since like Elite Gear back in like Burning Crusade and Cataclysm. So anyway, that's a big thing. Also, the gear itself. Now, a lot of people have been really upset about the way that gear is going to be distributed in Legion. Basically, long story short, guys, there's no more vendors where you can buy gear. There's nothing like that. The only way you can get gear is through these magical RNG boxes that you get through winning arenas or winning battlegrounds or winning rated battlegrounds. It's complete fucking bullshit. And if you just look at what Twitch chat, and I know that they're just spamming Legacy half the time, and maybe it's just a bunch of bullshit. But when it seems to me that when all of the feedback overwhelmingly, over 90% of the feedback that I see is negative towards this change, that maybe they should reevaluate it. But apparently not. And what they're going to be doing is that they're going to be making all gear. You basically get all gear through the Strongbox system. And it's the same one that we have right now. And they're basically kind of saying that, oh, it's going to be okay now because they kind of have a bad luck protection thing where you're probably not going to get 2 helmets in a row. So the gearing process is going to take basically the same amount of time, but each piece of gear you can not only receive the piece of gear, but then you have to receive the piece of gear that, and then it will actually upgrade in higher item level. So it's the same thing with Warforged system, the Warforged system that we have right now, except for in Legion it's going to be the Titan forging system. And so you can get a piece of gear that, let's say, is item level 820, right? And it can Warforge all the way up to, let's say, item level 870. Now, that's only really going to give you a, let's see, so that's 27, a 5% difference between the 2 items. But as a player, I just don't think it really feels good to have other people have a structural advantage over you that's been determined by RNG in a competitive environment. So I am very, very outspokenly against the way that they're doing loot in Legion PvP, and also the way that they kind of said it. They said that being less predictable is more exciting. And in a way, that's kind of true, but there's good types of exciting and bad types of exciting. Almost getting in a car crash is a bad type of exciting. Like doing one of those little crane games where you collect the teddy bears, that's a good kind of exciting. And I think that the gear that we used to get was kind of more like the teddy bears, and what we're getting right now is more like the car crash. Now, another thing is they said it's going to be more of an emotional experience, which really ties into what I had said before and my concerns and my worries that they're trying to create the same phenomenon in people's heads that people get out of gambling. So trying to get people kind of like addicted to opening these strong boxes or something like that. I think it's going to backfire on them personally. I think that after a while, people are going to reach a certain point and they're going to know that just statistically, there's going to be no real way for them to improve their gear. So they're probably going to lose interest in the game even faster than they do right now. So that's my prediction with like the RNG. I think it's going to burn people out because it's going to create apathy. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. Now, also besides that, there are going to be other reasons for you to do Battlegrounds. There's the whole new prestige system. If you guys didn't know, the whole honor system is being completely changed. There's going to be no more honor points, no more conquest points. Everything, as I said, the gear that you get is basically, it's complete random. It's not completely random, but it is basically completely random. And there are some ways for you to increase the chances for your gear to be Titan forged or for you to get higher item level gear. That does correlate to your current arena rating or your current RBG rating. That's kind of what I'm assuming. But on top of that, you do have the honor system, which that goes 1 to 50, and each, like honor level, some of them give you different talents. I think actually all of them give you different talents, or not every single level, but like every 3rd level or something like that gives you a new talent that you can use. And once you get up to 50, you can prestige down to 0, and each prestige level gives you different rewards. The first reward is some guy that basically runs around and sucks your dick and tells you how great you are. He's a battle pet. The second one is, I think you get an artifact weapon appearance change, or special unique artifact weapon appearance. The third one is that Corsair mount, and the 5th one is a pennant that goes on your back, the same ones that I'm assuming that we get in Arena. And the higher rating you get, the cooler your pennant looks. All right, and I think that's fucking awesome. Like, out of all the things that they said in this entire Q&A, I think that's probably one of the coolest things, to be honest with you guys. Now, a lot of the old PvP gear, and this is also something that I think is actually a good idea, and I know a lot of people might think it's stupid, but I think that it just keeps people like an alternate progression. And a lot of people, they ask, since we're getting rid of honor points and they're getting rid of conquest points, how are we going to now obtain the gear, the old PvP gear, like the gear from like season 8, right? Or the gear from season, like any of the seasons, any of the old PvP gear that you buy with honor right now. How are we going to be able to obtain that in Legion since now we don't have honor points? Well, you're going to get something called marks of honor. And these marks of honor, you get them through the strongbox. And the strongbox, by the way, can also contain like other bullshit like potions or, I don't know, probably elixirs. But the main thing that it will contain is gear. But there's not going to be any bronze, silver, or gold strongboxes either. But anyway, what I was saying is that, what shit, what was I saying? Marks of Honor. That's right. Marks of Honor, you use those to buy the old PvP gear. And so if you don't want to farm out Marks of Honor, which personally I don't really want to, start buying all the old PvP gear and start hoarding that right now so you don't have to go through this whole new system. But I think that they are going to try and make Legion PvP more replayable. And they also said, this is another thing that I don't really like. I don't really think, and guys, this is just my personal opinion, but outside of Warsong Gulch and Twin Peaks and I don't know, maybe Eye of the Storm, but probably not even that. I don't think that there should be any tanks in rated PvP or in PvP in general. I don't think it's a fun experience to play against them. It might be fun for people to play them themselves, but I just don't really think they have a place in WoW PvP. It's not a MOBA. Okay, and so it did kind of frustrate me whenever Holinka was talking about how, they wanted to make tanks like kind of the frontline shot callers and like kind of target callers in RBGs, and then they likened them to tanks in Heroes of the Storm because WoW is not a MOBA. It's never going to be a MOBA, and trying to treat it like a MOBA is probably going to make a lot of people upset. So I'm not very happy about that. The Marks of Honor system with the old PvP gear, though, I don't really think it's that bad of a system. I think it's kind of a good idea, and it allow people to kind of do PvP to get PvP gear, and I don't know. I think it's okay. But that's one of the only, as I said, one of the only things that I think is actually like a good thing in this system. Also, the first rated arena or first rated RBG or rated RBG. RBG that you do is going to give you double honor for the day, and so they do want to be kind of like giving people incentives to actually do that rated content, since now Conquest gear is going to be gone. Now, another big concern was that ever since probably Burning Crusade, well, not probably, ever since Burning Crusade, arena seasons have basically coincided at the same time as different tiers, right? Season 1 was tier 4, season 2 was tier 5, season 6 was season 3 was tier 6, and it's gone all the way up to this, that's happened pretty much all the way up until Mists of Pandaria with the Grievous and the Prideful season, and now again in Warlords Draenor with the Warmongering and the Wild season. So what they're trying to do in Legion is just like kind of, and they said don't quote them on this or anything like that, so we don't really know if this is going to happen, but the arena seasons are going to last hopefully 10 to 15 weeks, and there's going to be 2 arena seasons within each raid tier. So that seems like that's what their goal is going to be, but we'll see if that's actually going to happen. Now, also because they do have these stat templates, and you don't really have control over your stats in PvP very much, outside of just wearing higher item level gear to get higher versions of those same stats. They are going to be able to, I guess, like tune things more often and more precisely without necessarily having to mess up PvP or mess up PvE in the process. And so we can hopefully see more common balancing changes, and I think that will also kind of come with the territory of having the new seasons every 10 to 15 weeks instead of a little bit more. I don't even know how long the Warmongering season has been going on, honestly. Now, also, they will probably change the PvP talents. They're not going to be changing them every season, and also every new season, they're not going to reset your honor level, and so that's also a really, really cool thing. And at the beginning in Season 1 of Legion, you're only going to be able to have 4 prestige levels, and I don't really think that's going to take very long, personally. I have no idea. I really have no idea, but I just don't really think it's going to happen for very long. Now, they were also talking about the rewards in PvP. They need to feel rewarding, and honestly, he talked about it for like 5 minutes, and I didn't really see the point, because how can you make something feel rewarding but also make it not actually give you any sort of a real advantage? So if you want something to be rewarding, like getting like the Season 3 sword, right, that was a huge upgrade, or Season 4 sword, that was a huge upgrade, like the Elite gear, basically, in the previous seasons, that was a huge upgrade and a huge step into a next level of damage, right, and that felt rewarding. But getting a different color of gear, or getting something that's like 3 item levels higher on a slot that you don't really need, doesn't really matter. And so I don't really think that getting gear in Legion will really feel like much of a reward. It will basically feel like more of a means to an ends, more or less. Now, they've also said that this may surprise you, okay? But they did say that they care a lot about cheating, okay? And so they're doing their best to keep cheaters out of the game. All right, they have a full-time team dedicated to detecting cheaters. They need to get fired. But I honestly, and I'm a little salty about this. I am a little salty about this because ever since halfway through Mists of Pandaria, I think that there's just been so much cheating and so much foul play in PvP that it has made the game completely unfun for me. I used to like to do PvP, then DDoSing. Is that a fucking cricket? I don't even know. Sorry, guys, if y'all hear that. DDoSing in PvP, just kickbotting, like all kinds of different stuff. And so they're obviously saying that they're going to be trying to stop cheaters and keep the notorious cheaters out of the game. But honestly, it seems like they can't even keep the notorious cheaters out of the tournaments. So I'm not really going to expect that to happen. I will believe that when I see it. I'm more likely to believe of like not having the last patch of the expansion last for over a year. I'm more likely to believe that that's not going to happen than them stopping the cheaters. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, that's also a pretty big thing with me, but also they are getting rid of, I forgot to mention this in my video the other day about 10 things to do before the Legion pre-patches. They're getting rid of 5v5. I think this is a really stupid decision. Even though not a lot of people do it, I don't really see why they would actually just get rid of that game mode. It doesn't really make sense. And because they're getting rid of 5v5, they are also getting rid of Arena Master. Arena Master will become a legacy achievement. They won't just remove 5v5 from the Arena Master requirements. You will no longer be able to obtain Arena Master whenever the pre-patch comes out. So if you want to get that, you want to get it now. Now, also, one thing that I did want to mention, this is the last thing I want to say in this video, is that they are talking about maybe making, like something where you can go back and do Wintergrass, Tolbarad, or even Ashran. And I did I enjoyed Ashran. Okay, guys, I enjoyed Ashran once I got my 795 ring. But until then, I didn't really have too good of a time. This is what I really wish they would do. Back in the day, here's what they used to have. They used to have AV weekend, Alterac, not Alterac, well, that would be Alterac probably, Arathi Basin weekend, and Warsong Gulch weekend, right? And so every weekend, everybody would queue into AV. Everybody would queue into AB or Warsong Gulch. Whatever the weekend was, everybody would be queuing that battleground, right? And I would really, really love to see them implement that same weekly bonus event into the world PvP areas. So like a weekly, every, just rotating through the different weeks, like the same as they have the I guess what are they, the holiday weekends or whatever they are, like the Battle Pet holiday weekend and the bonus dungeon holiday weekend and this arena skirmish holiday weekend. I wish they would do that also for like 3 days with Ashran, and so people can go back and everything will be scaled up. And they could also do that with Wintergrasp and do it with Tolbarad, and so people could go back and re-experience that kind of stuff, or for some of the new players experience it for the first time. And since it wouldn't be available all the time, there would be kind of an incentive for people to go in there and actually take advantage of it whenever it was, so you wouldn't really have to worry about it being kind of a graveyard. So I would really, really love to see them do that. And honestly, I think that that's probably the most possible thing that will happen. Now, anyway, guys, that's pretty much what I have to say about the Legion PvP Q&A. I was not very happy about it, honestly, because, it was just like doubling down on the RNG rewards and, the gambling psychology stuff, and I think it's just going to burn people out and make people bitter, and I just don't think I don't think it's going to keep players engaged. I think that's really what it comes down to. And I also don't like that they didn't really have any real sort of things that they're actually going to do about cheaters and any rules that they're putting forward. So those were the two things that I didn't like. The main two things I didn't like. Some things I did like, obviously, were the fact that they are trying to make tanks less annoying in PvP. And, they're also, tanks are not going to be like tournament level. You're not going to tanks are not going to be viable on a tournament level, and so I think that's a good thing as well. And the marks of whatever marks of honor or whatever to buy the old PvP gear, I think is a pretty decent system. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much what I've got. I thought it was, as I said, I'm very glad that they're doing these Q&A sessions, even though, as I said, it's not necessarily things that I agree with. So that's pretty much all I got. Thank you for watching, and like, comment, subscribe.